I left Leeds when I was 18 years of age.
Oh, so you're from Leeds then?
From Leeds, born and bred. My parents moved to the Lake District when I was doing my GCSEs. And finished with GCSEs, ready to go to university, but you do that gap year thing, right? And I'd never really been to the Lake District. So I thought, why not go and live rent-free with my parents, go spend some time in the lakes, beautiful part of the world. So I moved up there, and my dad's from Bradford, proper Yorkshireman. Within 6 minutes of being home, he said, you've got to get a job. And in the Lake District, the choices are probably working in hospitality or working in wool shops or selling cagoules. So I'd done some KPing and stuff before, so I just went knocking on some doors.
Just quickly, KPing?
Oh, kitchen portering, doing a bit of dishwashing and prepping veg.
It's one of them things, I see the term flying around occasionally, and I feel too dumb to ask. I've been around too long already, but it's...
So the kitchen porter, maybe the most important part of the kitchen. I'm just putting that out there. So yeah, just started knocking on some doors and ended up getting a job in Grasmere in the Lake District, at a beautiful place called the Red Lion. Worked there over the summer and then got offered a full-time job, and that was it. And 16 years later, I'm still doing it.
Oh shit.
So then after that, left the Lake District, went to Australia for a couple of years, came back here for a year, went to France, went to Italy, went to Turkey.
What age?
So this is all the way through my 20s.
Oh, sick.
And then moved back here again for a year when I worked at Salvo's, or the Saloon Maria part of Salvo's. And then I moved to Australia for 2 years. Moved back for about 6 months, and then moved to London for 6 years. And then moved back here about 3 years ago. And in all that time, when I was in London, did a mix of chefing and front of house, because the chef hours and wages in London were shoddy.
Okay.
Real tough gig down in London as a chef. So decided, or thought it would be a lot easier to do front of house, and then gained a real respect for what people do front of house, and learnt a lot, and then moved back here 3 years ago.
How old are you for doing all of that? I was trying to tot it up. I was like, so you what, 53?
Yeah, 58 this, no, 37 this year, so 36 now.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So I've been about.
Yeah.
But it's been a real journey, and I don't think without cooking I'd have travelled most of the places I have. I think I've been very lucky in that respect. Schnitface was born of an idea when I was 2 years into living in London. The street food scene was pretty massive there, and so growing up goes back a little bit to my mum cooking when I was a kid. So my dad is half Austrian.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, we used to summer. Wow, that sounds well bent, doesn't it? We used to summer in Austria.
We used to summer in.
One of my aunties lived in Austria, so for summer holidays, because my dad's cheap, we used to go to Austria because it was free accommodation, and we used to go hang out and ate loads of schnitzels when I was a kid. And then growing up, my mum made a load of schnitzels,
Which are?
So it tends to be breaded meat. Traditionally, it's pork. It's an Austro-Hungarian dish, so it's tenderized. You tend to get things like pork chops, or you get chicken breasts, or you can use thighs. You can even use beef. A lot of people now, if you go to bougie restaurants, will use veal. You tenderize them, you flatten them out, and then you breadcrumb and whatever. Panko is the way for me.
Yeah.
Get a load of herbs into your breadcrumbs and cheese if you fucking want to do it properly. And schnitzels have always kind of been in my life. And then when I went to Australia, I worked in Melbourne for about 6 months. And across the road from where I worked was a place called Schnitz. And my boss at the time, who was half Ukrainian and half Australian, basically, long story short, some of his family was from the same part as my dad's family in Austria.
Oh, nice.
So he grew up eating schnitzels as well.
Yeah.
And I'd been working there for like 2 months, and he was like, mate, I've got to take you to this place. So we went to Schnitz, and we went in there, and it was essentially like Subway, but for schnitzel sandwiches.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I ended up going every day there for probably 3 months. And I tried every possible augmentation and combination of schnitzel
Became
sandwich.
a schnitz connoisseur.
Yeah. And I really, really fucking loved it. And then when I moved back to the UK, I sort of had a look around, and there was nobody really doing schnitzels. You were seeing schnitzels on like not fine dining, but those sort of higher end restaurants. So they were doing like veal schnitzels, but there was no like middle lane, someone just doing schnitzels for people to, like, they didn't exist. And to me, I was like, right, so doing a chicken schnitzel here should be a thing, because it's like if you do a veal schnitzel in a sandwich, it's just a really nice chicken burger. So Schnitface was born in London, and I did a few pop-ups as Schnitface doing schnitzel sandwiches, and kind of the name stuck.
Yeah.
And then when I moved back here, I did a few pop-ups with Schnitface as well, and then I've just not changed the name. I think for the last year and a half, I haven't done loads of schnitzels. I mean, they've always been on the menu, but I'm cooking different stuff. But food and menus for me is more about nostalgia and affordability than anything else.
Yeah.
Food has to make me feel something when I eat it. I want it to remind me of a holiday or the seaside, or being in year 3, or, you know. And I think there's a way you can do that and adult it at the same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like shit school dinners. Like, you can make food remind you of stuff without it being rubbish.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the notion of Schnitface, and has always been. The schnitzels were nostalgic to me, so that nostalgia's carried through the business.
Parade of grafters.
Your teeth and no!
Ding, ding.